Welcome back. I've gathered a few stories that linger in the shadows. Strange, unsettling tales pulled from the corners of the internet. So wherever you are, settle in, dim the lights, let the night stretch out around you, and listen. Our first story is called Help is on the Way, written by 3 magpies. The tow company had assured me they were coming as I leaned against my old car. That was 3 hours ago. She was an aging model, a discontinued stick shift from the 90s, leather seats, silver trim, a pearly blue paint job, now half swallowed by a muddy ditch in the middle of a rainstorm that refused to end. The engine was on its last legs, but she couldn't die today. Not here. Not like this. I dialed again. Rain slipped past the collar of my shirt. The call failed. For hours I'd been trying to get through, and when the line finally connected, there was no voice on the other end. Just silence. Rows of pine stretched out like fingers, clawing at the swirling sky. What were once potholes had long since turned into frothing pools, swallowing the red clay, sucking at my boots as I sloshed back to the trucker's side door. I'm not one to share personal details. All you need to know is this: traveling is what I do when it all goes wrong. When life gets unbearable, I pack the trunk with supplies and drive. Sometimes I find a couch to crash on, sometimes a bed if I'm lucky. And if all goes well, I pick up a little piece along the way. This time I'd gone upstate. An acquaintance, Kay, living way out in the sticks. I thought I'd stay longer, but 2 days in, he made it clear our deal had run its course. That was when the rain started. After our fight, Kay offered me one more night. Said we could wait out the storm. I brushed him off. Told him I didn't need pity, I could handle a little rain. But when I set out looking for a clear head, all I found was a throbbing headache, half a pack of stolen Lucky Strikes, and a stranded car in the middle of nowhere. The stranding itself was a blur. I wasn't thinking straight when I gunned it down that unpaved road. Before I knew it, the floodwaters were climbing past the tires. The engine sputtered, then died. I just sat there, listening to the rain, searching for the will to face the mess I'd driven myself into. And then, with no choice left, I made the call. Help was in the way. I watched the truck's high beams disappear into the darkness. First, they were searchlights, then twin fireflies, and then nothing at all. The rain had slowed to a mist. Frogs called from the ditches, cicadas shrilled in the trees. Together they blended into a hypnotic white noise. The air was heavy, wet. It clung to my skin like a film I couldn't peel away. I needed a cigarette. As I reached for the pack, I remembered the mechanic's words. It lures them. Then, I looked into the trees. The scrap of red fabric was gone, but I knew it was still there, watching. Maybe the man in red was a hallucination. Maybe my sleep-starved brain had betrayed me again. That was part of why I set out on this trip, wasn't it? When I'm on the road, I'm not in my head. There's only the here and now, gas stations, billboards, exit markers, and the question of where to go next. Maybe that's what I live for, being anywhere else. I climbed onto the hood of my car, stretched out my legs. I feel safer up there. And then, the part I'm least proud of, I lit another cigarette. The rest of the night is a blur, a hazy dream. Around midnight, a tow truck arrived. I don't remember if it was the one I'd called, or the one sent by the mechanic. It had no company logo. I watched the driver haul my car onto the bed, red mud streaked across the pearly blue hood. I watched them hand me paperwork. I watched myself sign. I watched myself climb into the passenger seat. And we drove away. I watched us drive away. And now I'm here, sitting on a cot in some 2-star motel room, writing this down. I think I'll take a break from road tripping for a while. Not that I have much of a choice. The car is gone, beyond repair. They told me I could work odd jobs in their town, save a little, hitchhike back home when I'm ready. Maybe even give Kay a call. But first, I need to catch my breath. And yet, as I type, I can't shake the feeling that I never left that place, that backcountry road, sand, sky, endless pines. I see it still. A car overturning into a ditch, smoke curling from the hood, the driver stepping out, making a call, waiting and waiting. When the time is right, I'll approach. I've been here so long, I'm hurt. No one offers help. My clothes torn, my body mangled. I need a cigarette. My mother swears she tucked me in last night, but I live alone. Bye, Nikki. And I don't even know what kind of help I should be asking for. It started 3 weeks ago. A call from my mum. A cold Monday. We talk often enough. Her calling isn't strange, but this time, it was while I was on the clock. I'm a nurse. She knows better than to interrupt unless it's important. I answered, bracing myself for bad news, but instead I heard her voice, gentle, familiar. And she said, "I'm glad you're sleeping better. You looked so peaceful." She was casual, sweet, just asking about my day. Don't get me wrong, I love my mom. I like talking to her. But I was at work, and I tried to politely excuse myself. That's when she said it. "I'm glad you're sleeping better. You looked so peaceful." I froze. I'm in my 20s. I've lived alone for almost 7 years, and my mom lives 200 meters away. At first, I brushed it off, but as the day went on, it gnawed at me, like a splinter under the skin. After my shift, I called her again. She was cheerful, casual, like nothing was wrong. But I couldn't let it go, so I asked, "What did you mean by that?" And without missing a beat, she said, "Well, you've been tossing and turning. I was just happy to see you sleeping peacefully last night." My mouth went dry. I asked if she was joking. Her voice was confused. She told me she'd tuck me in. Last night, I didn't argue, didn't push. My mother isn't young, and there's a history of degenerative brain disease in our family. I was worried. Maybe she was sick. So I changed the subject. We finished the call pleasantly enough, but the words stayed with me. As soon as we hung up, I texted my brother. He lives in the same town. I told him to check on her. Ever since then, it felt like I'm losing my mind. At first, it was the smallest things, tiny details that weren't as they should be. That day when I got home, the chair at the head of my dining table was pulled out too far. I could have sworn I tucked it in. Reason told me I must have forgotten. But then my bed was made. I never made my bed. And yet, the sheets were folded, tucked under the mattress, the same way my mom used to do when I was little. I called my brother, told him what was happening. Maybe Mom had come by, maybe she was pranking me, but he said no, he just had tea with her. And it's only gotten worse. At night I hear footsteps. When I get up to look, they vanish, leaving me to wonder if I ever heard them at all. A few nights ago I woke at 3 a.m. to humming, faint, barely audible, but I knew the melody instantly. The lullaby my mom used to sing when I had nightmares. I froze. It was coming from my bedroom doorway. I couldn't bring myself to look. I just shut my eyes, lay stiff under the covers, trying not to breathe too loudly. Eventually the sound faded. When I finally worked up the nerve to turn on the light, the room was empty. But the closet door, the one I always leave open, was shut. I've been calling her during the day, but it's no use. She either denies everything or speaks as if nothing is wrong. More often than not, she drifts into tangents. Bright, cheerful, and it frustrates me to no end. So I recorded our last conversation, thinking maybe I could catch something, a slip, a change in her voice, anything that would make sense of this. But when I played it back, the audio was crystal clear. Too clear. No background hum, no shuffling, no clink of her spoon in her teacup, just her voice, bright, cheerful, telling me she was proud of me, that I looked so calm now. I hadn't told her I was recording, and yet, right before the call ended, she said, "You should stop doing that, it's not polite." I've grown paranoid. I didn't sleep in my bed anymore. I've taken to the couch instead, but without fail, I wake up in my bed, neatly tucked under the covers. Last night, I stayed awake as long as I could. I thought if I could catch it in the act, I could prove to myself this wasn't just in my head. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. And I remember the hand that pulled the blanket over me. It wasn't hurt. It was cold, thinner, the fingers too long. And they didn't tremble the way hers used to when she touched my forehead. There was no warmth, just a kind of pressure, like it was mesmerizing me. Kept my eyes shut. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I didn't look at it, it wouldn't look back. But it knew. I could feel that it knew. It leaned closer, the weight of it pressed into the mattress beside me. Slow. Deliberate. The sound it made was low and wet, like thick saliva pulling apart in strands. Something dragged across my cheek. Not fingers this time. Something softer, frayed at the edges. Hair, maybe, but it smelled like meat left too long in the sun. And then it spoke. "You don't cry anymore, not like before." Its voice was trying to be hers, but it wasn't right. The words came out broken, halting, like someone reading phonetics or a card. And underneath it, something else breathed, heavier, labored. I opened my eyes. There was nothing there. But the blankets beside me were writhing and falling as if someone invisible was lying there, mimicking my breath. The indentation in the mattress was fresh, deep, and on the pillow a thick, dark streak, brown, rotting at the edges, like old blood mixed with dirt. I turned toward the mirror, and that's when I saw it, something sitting on the edge of the mattress. At first I thought it was her. The hair was the same length, the same part down the middle, but it was patchy, thin, coarse in some places, clumps like wet straw in others. Tufts of hair were missing altogether. The skin beneath looked stitched, like burlap pulled too tight over something that wasn't a skull. It tilted its head again, the motion jerky, like a puppet on tangled strings. And then, slowly it began to turn. Every instinct screamed at me to look away, but I couldn't. The face that met mine in the mirror was trying to be my mother. It had her eyes, or at least eyes where hers used to be, cloudy, too wide, like glass marbles pressed into soft clay. The nose was flat, broken, reset wrong, but the mouth was the worst part. It stretched too far, split at the corners, scabbed, peeled back in a permanent smile. Rows of tiny, baby-like teeth, dozens of them too white, too clean. It crushed its hand across the pillow, slow, tender. And then it looked up, not at the bed, at the mirror, at me, and it smiled. I stumbled back, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear myself think. I didn't want to see it anymore. I didn't want it to see me. But I couldn't look away. The thing on the bed tilted its head, curious, almost playful. Then it raised one long shaking arm and waved. I turned. Nothing was there. When I looked back at the mirror, the bed was empty, just rumpled blankets, silence. I stood there for a long time, barely breathing, too afraid to move. And then, my phone rang. It was my mom. Her voice was soft, calm. "Don't be scared, sweetheart," she said. "We just miss you." And then another story. I got lost in a movie theater bathroom, written by More Tanks. It was just a regular weekend. In the evening, I went to the movies with my girlfriend. Some lame horror flick, the last thing playing that night. We were the only two people in the theater, the entire screening. When it ended, I really had to use the bathroom. Too much soda. My girlfriend said she'd wait outside, right by the entrance. The restroom was standard, urinals, stalls. I've never liked urinals, so I went into one of the stalls. Only a moment passed before someone else came in. I was surprised. The whole theater had seemed deserted. Still, I finished what I was doing, didn't think much of it, until the person entered the stall next to mine. These stalls were the kind that are open at the bottom. You can always see if someone's really inside. That's when I got my second shock. A leg sticking out from the neighboring stall, positioned like the person was standing, facing the wall between us. His legs were filthy, bare, no shoes. His toenails were long, yellowed. Horrified, I barked out, "What the hell are you doing?" No answer. I tried to finish up as fast as I could. The whole situation was creeping me out. And then, a man's voice, familiar somehow, though I couldn't place it. "Finally," he said, "it's over." Panic surged through me. I zipped up, stormed out of the stall, ready to swing at whoever was there, but the stall next to mine was empty, completely empty. There wasn't a soul in the restroom besides me. That was worse. I washed my hands quickly, splashed cold water on my face, tried to pull myself together. Everything looked normal. I hurried to get back to my girlfriend, but then, the next surprise. I couldn't get out. I opened the door and walked into another restroom. Identical. Same urinals. Same stalls. Same sinks. I froze, confused. Maybe I'd walked through 2 doors without realizing it. I tried again. Another door. Same restroom. Again and again, identical. Something was wrong. I turned back, tried a different way. Still the same. Every door led to another bathroom. I passed through 3, 4, 5 of them, no change. That's when the real panic set in. What now? I muttered. I pulled out my phone. No signal, no bars, nothing. Total panic. I started running. Didn't even know where to. I just ran, slamming doors open left and right. Every time, the same. Just another bathroom. I don't know how far I went, how many restrooms I passed through. I just kept walking, until my legs gave out, and I realized I had no idea how long I'd been in there. There were no windows, no clocks, and my phone still frozen at 9:45 p.m. The same time every time I checked. The rooms were all the same, each one opening into the next, leading nowhere. Eventually, exhausted, I collapsed. I opened another door, another restroom, identical. No matter how disgusting the floor was, lying down on it felt comforting, strangely comforting. I fell asleep right there, sprawled across the tiles. I don't know how long I slept. When I woke, my phone was dead. No more 9:45. But my cracked lips, my gnawing hunger, they told me one thing for sure. I'd been trapped in this nightmare for a while. And as hopeless as it felt, waking up still in that bathroom, I knew I couldn't just stay there. I had to get out. Somehow. Even if the door wouldn't let me. My first plan was water. And it didn't take long. 6 sinks lined the wall, and sure enough, water flowed. Iron cold. Fresh, even warm, if I turned the handle just right. It felt like half a victory. From all those survival documentaries I watched, I knew a person couldn't live more than 3 days without water. Now I could only hope I wouldn't be stuck here long enough to start worrying about food. With water secured, I searched the room. Every sink, every pipe. I even disassembled one. Water still poured out, but nothing else. Not even dust. So I checked the stalls, one by one, but again, nothing. Every toilet was spotless. 2 spotless. A couple rolls of toilet paper. That's all I found. Until the last stall. There on the wall, beside the toilet, a vent. It wasn't big, just wide enough for maybe my arm, but it had a grate, screwed tight at the corners. I started searching for something, anything, to pry it open. That's when I remembered my keychain, a gift from my girlfriend, a tiny Swiss Army knife. It had a screwdriver head. Not perfect, but good enough. I got to work. When the grate finally came loose, I actually shouted with joy, maybe this is the way out. The vent was dark, narrow. I pressed my ear to it. Faint noises, something skittering inside. Still, I had no better idea, so I yelled into the vent, "Help! Somebody help me! I'm trapped in the bathroom!" I even called my girlfriend's name, just in case. But nothing answered. No police, no voice, no sound at all. I hesitated, then thought, what if I just reach in? Maybe there's something. Anything, just something to push this nightmare forward. So I rolled up my sleeve and shoved my arm into the dark opening. No hesitation, huge mistake. Something was inside, small, hard, moving. They wriggled across my skin, tickling. I screamed, a grown man shrieking like a child. I yanked my arm back, and that's when I saw them. Cockroaches crawling up and down my arm. Small, brown, sluggish, dozens of them. I screamed again, this time out of rage, swiping them off as fast as I could. I've never been afraid of bugs, not really. But this was too much. I stumbled out of the store, furious, shaking, and still trapped. I don't think I've ever cursed that much in my life. I yelled for minutes straight, shouting how much I hated this place, how badly I wanted out. But no one heard me. The restroom looked the same as always, except now, slightly torn apart. I'd had enough. I needed to get out. I was sick of this place. The white tiles, the pristine stall doors, and especially the mirrors. Those stupid mirrors above the things forcing me to look at myself. In a rage, I ran to the door, threw it open as hard as I could, but of course, nothing changed. Just another identical bathroom. I screamed at the top of my lungs, like a man losing his mind. Then I sat there, on the bathroom floor, staring blankly ahead. To my right, I propped open the exit door with a trash can. Behind it, another bathroom. I did the same to the door on my left. Same view. Identical restroom stretching in both directions. Not a single difference. I thought about bracing open more doors. I didn't have the energy anymore. And now I had a new problem. Hunger. Deep, clawing, maddening hunger. I had no idea how long I'd been there. At some point, I must have fallen asleep again. I realized that if I lay completely still on the floor, the motion sensor lights would switch off. And in the dark, I could almost trick myself into believing I wasn't really stuck in a bathroom at all. But this time, waking up, the hunger hit hard. I felt weak, powerless. My thoughts came sluggish, broken. I couldn't even think straight. Didn't want to. What was the point? And then I heard it. The scuttling. Familiar, I'd heard it before, but this time, they weren't coming from the vent. They were spilling out of the pipes I'd dismantled beneath one of the sinks, falling out as if someone were tossing them through the pipe at me. They crawled lazily across the floor, unbothered by my presence. Just another part of the scenery. That's when all those survival shows came flooding back. My brain flicked the switch. No, you're not dying of starvation in here. Suddenly, I knew what I had to do. Everything clicked into place. I grabbed the 2 small metal trash cans I'd been using to wedge the doors open. I turned on one of the taps, the hottest it could get, and filled a can to the brim. It didn't boil, but it steamed, hot enough. The other can I placed beneath the broken pipe, and the cockroaches began falling in, leaning into the eerie tone. They didn't even try to escape. It was like they were waiting for it. My next brilliant idea got them. You don't just eat any part of the animal, right? Probably the same goes for bugs. So, I pulled out my tiny Swiss Army knife, once again proving its safe useful, and started butchering them, one by one. Deliberately slow, grotesque pride, sawing off anything that didn't look edible, anything too hard, anything that seemed like armor or shell. What was left was soft, pale, fleshy little chunks, looked like chicken. I told myself that mine tastes like chicken too. I forced myself not to think about the guts running down my hand or the rotting smell they gave off. I just dropped the edible bits into the hot water one by one, hoping the bath might make them feel cleaner, easier to swallow. Soon, 40 or 50 pieces of cockroach meat floated in the steaming can. And I'll admit something. I was proud of myself. I felt like a proper survivor. Not lost in the Amazon, just lost in an endless public restroom. But now came the hard part. Actually eating them. A dark chuckle. I stalled, but my stomach twisted with hunger again and I had no choice. Surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. It was worse than I expected in some places. Bitter, mostly where I hadn't cleaned them well enough. I spit those parts out. But the rest, I got it down. I couldn't believe it. Sitting on a bathroom floor, eating half-cooked cockroach meat soup. But I felt full enough to think clearly again. Back to the real goal, getting out. Maybe I'd missed something. A clue, a crack, anything. So I kept going. One bathroom after another, searching for the tiniest difference. I don't know how long that lasted. At some point, exhaustion won. I fell asleep again. But I did learn some things. Every room is the same as you sink. Every stall, every mirror, exactly the same. Except they're not in a loop. I'm not walking in circles. These rooms open into each other. Forward, not backward. I tested it, marked a stall, walked through a few more bathrooms, came back. The mark was still there, so I am moving, just not toward anything I understand. Water is always available, cockroaches too, so like it or not, I've got food and water covered. As far as survival goes, I'm fine. Well, sort of. Raw cockroach meat isn't exactly good for digestion, but it was either that or starve. After waking from what I thought was my second nap, I made a decision. Judging by my stubble, I'd been in here for maybe 5 days, and still no exit. That's when I decided to go as far as I physically could. I don't even know how the idea hit me, but I'd counted. 4 stalls, 5 urinals, co-room, 20. So from then on, I'd move forward 20 bathrooms at a time. After each 20, I'd stop. Make dinner, if you can call it that. Drink, rest, check if anything had changed. And that's what I did. Marching forward. Clinging to some absurd little math-based system, hoping it might lead me out. But I found nothing. No change, no clue, no exit. I don't even know how long I'd been walking this pan. Sets of 20, always 20. My beard had grown out. I tried trimming it with my tiny pocket knife. Mixed results. My hair, too. Cut ragged. Uneven. My body had withered, thin, gaunt. I lived off cockroaches for I don't even know how long. My clothes were ragged, filthy. Even though I washed myself every 20th room, even though I scrubbed my clothes in lukewarm tap water, it didn't matter. It was wearing me down. The endless repetition, the same white tiles. The same stalls, the same damn mirrors, showing me a ruined man, a wreck, a ghost of what I used to be. I reached my 20th bathroom again. Who knows the number anymore, and I collapsed. Every emotion I'd bottled up hit me at once. Sorrow, rage, hopelessness. I sat there, broken, sobbing. Then the fury came. I stood and I went berserk. I tore out the stall doors, ripped the toilet paper from the holders, kicked and punched the sink, smashed everything in sight. I picked up a trash can and shattered the mirrors. I didn't want to see myself anymore. I yanked a pipe loose, used it like a club. I shattered the tiles, cracked a toilet into pieces. Water spilled from every orifice I'd broken. The stalls hung half off their hinges, and I sat there panting, dripping, a shattered man in a shattered room. Then I heard something. Not the rustle of cockroaches, no, this was different. Louder, something bigger. I followed it. He came from the shattered toilet, from the pipe, scratching, clawing. I gripped the pipe in my hands and smashed the porcelain again and again until I found it. The sewage drain. The sound was louder now. I looked in. No point in being cautious anymore. I reached in, and something bit me. A flash of pain. I yanked my hand back and a rat dangled from my finger, gnawing furiously. I screamed, flung it against the wall. Its skull burst like rotten fruit against the tiles. I stood there, hand bleeding, blood mixing with the leaking water and the rat's mashed body. What happened after that? I won't describe. Even if I wanted to, I don't think I could. My mind broke in ways I don't want anyone else to ever understand. Sometimes I was aware of myself, sometimes it felt like someone else is in control. I stopped washing, stopped trimming, started eating rats, stopped cleaning the cockroaches. My bitten finger grew infected, so half-conscious, I bit down, and sawed it off with my knife. I wrapped the stump in toilet paper, kept it as clean as I could, but I didn't know how long I'd been there. Months, years. I looked like a homeless man, maybe worse. But I didn't care. I didn't know what I was doing anymore, and then something different. I walked into a new bathroom, and one of the stalls was locked. I froze, stared at it. Was it real? A hallucination? Barefoot, filthy, I stumbled toward it, but I didn't touch, didn't speak. Instead, I entered the stall beside it. I stood there, between the locked stall and mine, rested my forehead against the wall, and then I heard it, a voice. Familiar, a man's voice, angry, confused, but unmistakably familiar, and I smiled, because I knew. I had been here before. I had lived this already, and in a dry, cracked whisper I said, finally, it's over. You're going to give me $100 to sit inside this cardboard box for 2 minutes? I slurred the words, the booze still sloshing around my brain. It's that simple, the street performer said, grinning like he knew something I didn't. You last 2 minutes inside the box, you get $100. And if I don't, then you don't. I squinted at the box. What's inside? He flipped open the top flaps. Empty. So what was the catch? There's always a catch, my friend Paul muttered. No catch, the man said. You go in of your own free will. You get out of your own free will. Put 2 minutes between those moments, and you walk away richer. Let me see the money, I said. The man didn't look like he had a spare Franklin to part with. His suit was stained, threadbare, patched at the elbows, tearing at the sleeves. On his head, a busted top hat. The kind that looked like had survived the Great Depression. On his feet, mismatched, filthy docksiders, like he hauled them up from the bottom of a swamp. And yet, from beneath that ruined hat, he pulled a crisp, clean $100 bill. I laughed nervously. Feels like if I go in, you're gonna kick the box, or pour old soup on me, or some other stupid prank. Old soup, I chuckled. Paul laughed too. Yeah, man, old clam chowder or something. This keeps the banter light at first, but with the street performer's strange, almost timeless presence, already hinting at something darker. And so the street performer just shook his head slowly. No, sir, he murmured. I'm not a fan of chowder or pranks, and I don't have any idea what a TikTok is. I'm just an honest man looking to give away $100 to the bravest and boldest among you. And then I laughed it off and I said, that's definitely not you, Paul. And of course, Paul shot back with a fuck off, bro, with that playful irritation. I nudged him, you gonna do it? And he fired back, why don't you? But me, I just chuckled, not bold enough. And honestly, if I sit down on the ground, I might not get back up. I shouldn't have had that last drink, I'm calling the Uber. And the street performer just turned to Paul and said, real casual like, your name is Paul, correct? Paul nodded, yeah. Then he asked, tell me, Paul, could you use $100? Paul laughed, hell yeah, especially after what I spent tonight. And the performer, with a slight grin, said, big brave man like you couldn't be afraid of a simple cardboard box. Paul scoffed, fuck, no, I'm not. You have another 2 minutes to spare? The performer asked. Paul looked at me. How long until the Uber gets here? I checked my phone. 5 minutes, give or take. And so Paul looked at the box, back at the street performer, and then at me. What do you think? Is it worth it? My head was pounding from the booze, and I rubbed at my temples trying to clear the hate. I mean, the whole thing is weird, but he hasn't declined a downside. And the performer just winked. I haven't informed you of any downsides, because there isn't one. I had to ask, this guerrilla marketing for a box company, or do you work for Frigidaire? He shook his head, no sir. I work for me, myself, and I. Nobody likes having a boss, am I right? I muttered, especially if you knew mine. He makes Attila though and look like Daffy Duck. And then Paul, with that sudden burst of bravado you get from a few drinks, said, fuck it man, I'll do it. Performer's eyes lit up, wonderful. But then Paul added, looking at me, on one condition. And this right here, this is the pivot point. It's where the playful drunken air starts to get a little eerie, a little off balance. And if you'd like, we can take it all the way from here and see just what's inside that box, shifting that mood from laughter into something a bit more surreal, maybe even the touch of horror. If we can go to the club after I get out, Paul said. I yawned, leaning back. Bro, I'm beat. I don't have the energy. Then he just laughed and said, you don't have enough energy to look at boobs? No, I answered, surprising even myself. I might pass out in the Uber. Paul muttered, If you're gonna throw up, do it in the alley. They charge extra if they have to clean up fluids. I joked back, maybe I'll puke in the box before you get in it. And then there was the street performer, that odd calm in his voice. Please don't vomit inside the box. It's one of a kind. Paul scoffed, these things come off an assembly line, hardly one of a kind. I glanced at my phone. Uber was 3 minutes away. I turned to him, you going in or not? And with a shrug he said, fuck it, let's do it. The street performer added in as he pulled this old brass pocket watch out. Who keeps time? He repeated. Time keeps itself, but I'll assist. And then Paul climbed in, piece by piece, unsteady legs wobbling like a newborn foal. I couldn't help but laugh, and he shot me a finger before settling in fully, the flaps closing over his head. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1. The performer's eyes never leaving the ticking of that watch, and he whispered, go. There we were. A deserted street, a man in a ruined top hat, and my best friend sitting in a cardboard box. I couldn't stop the laughter bubbling up. This is so fucking stupid, I said. That edge of absurdity still there, but now tinged with something else. That little shadow of unease creeping in. They said the same thing about the dog launched into space. Hey Leica, how dark is it up there? I asked. Not very, Paul said, his voice muffled by the cardboard. Then he broke into a fit of giggles. I feel like a dumbass. If the shoe fits, I muttered. The box jolted violently, then went still. A beat later, it rocked again. From inside, I heard Paul shifting. Bro, stop moving, I said. I'm not doing that, he answered. 30 seconds, the street performer called out. Wait a second, Paul said. It just got dark. Really dark. I can't see the neon light from the bar anymore. You're inside the box, I reminded him. The furthest distance is a foot away. No, he said, his voice uncertain now. Wait, there's some kind of white light off in the distance? The distance? I asked, confused. Hey, Mr. Top Hat, is there a screen in here, like a TV or something? The street performer didn't answer. His eye stayed fixed on the pocket watch. What's going on? I demanded. There's something approaching the box, Paul said. Yeah, the Uber. I'm surrounded by shadow figures. Shadow figures? I asked. They look like people, but different. You fucking with me? There aren't any features I can see. They look like silhouettes. Dig, stop. The joke's not funny anymore. Get out, huh? The Uber's almost here anyway. Shh, he hissed. I think they can hear your voice. I turned to the street performer. What's going on here? What's the gag? He ignored me. His eyes stayed locked on the pocket watch, its second hand, spinning faster than it should. 1 minute, halfway there, he called. I can hear them speaking, Paul said. It's faint, but what? I snapped. It doesn't sound like any language I've ever heard. Paul, enough's enough. Come on, man, out. The ride's turning down the street. Oh, fuck, I think they saw me. His voice quivered. Who's they? These shadow figures. Oh, fuck, he said again, fear lacing every word. From inside the box, I heard him kicking. The cardboard bent with each blow, but it never broke. Get moving, I shouted. I'm trying to run, but my body isn't moving. My body's frozen, and they're coming. Holy shit. Get out of the box, Paul. 1 minute 30, the street performer yelled. Best time of the night. One of them is coming for me, Paul cried. Oh, God. They have eyes, but not like ours. His eyes. I can see. He trailed off. You can see what? I begged. Everything, he whispered. They're showing me everything. 1 minute 40, the street performer called. The money is as good as yours, stranger. There's fire. It's everywhere. The ground is sizzling. I can feel the heat. It's burning me through my pants. What the fuck is this? Get out of the box, Paul. The other three are closing in, their eyes are glowing white. I can see the ends of the earth, the end of the sky, the end of it all. The fire, they burn. Oh God, they burn. There was the familiar whine of an electric window rolling down. A flat, monotonous voice called my name. My Uber had arrived. The box was gone. All that remained was the $100 bill. You still want your ride? The driver asked. No, he said. There wasn't a man in a busted top hat. There wasn't a refrigerator box. I think you made a good decision calling an Uber. Then, deadpan. If you puke in my car, there's a cleaning face. If you're gonna yak, do it now, huh? My legs went weak. My friend was gone. The man who sent him away had vanished. What could I even tell the police? My friend climbed into a cardboard box and disappeared? Yeah, that would go over well. You coming or what? The driver pressed. This is my busy time. I looked down at the bill in my hand, and that's when I saw it. Instead of Franklin's face staring back at me, someone had scrawled a note. I lifted it closer. I knew that handwriting anywhere. It was Paul's. The note read, "I've seen the end. You don't make it. But are you coming?" The driver asked again. Yeah, I whispered. I'm coming. I picked up the note, held it close to my face. I knew that handwriting anywhere. It was Paul's. The note read, "I've seen the end. You don't make it." "Buddy, you coming?" my driver asked. "Yeah," I said. I'm coming." That was several hours ago. Now I'm sitting at my kitchen table, staring at the $100 bill. My mind is mush, and it has nothing to do with the alcohol. I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know where to go. What do I even say to Paul's family? How do I explain this? My friend climbed into a cardboard box and disappeared? I keep telling myself this is a nightmare, that any second I'll wake up. But I'm not asleep. I'm sitting here, stock still, as the first rays of the sun turn the black sky purple. There's a void around my heart, a profound loss for my friend, and a deeper fear for the message he left behind. I've seen the end. You don't make it. You try falling asleep after this. And that wraps up tonight's dive into eerie stories from Reddit. Strange, unsettling, sometimes absurd, but always entertaining. I had a lot of fun voicing these, slipping into little characters here and there, and I hope you enjoyed listening just as much. If you did, let me know. Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe. It helps more than you know, and it keeps this series alive. Would you like to hear darker stories next time, creepier ones that keep you awake at night? Or more surreal, creative tales like these? Your feedback shapes where we go. And if you're still hungry for more, check out the other episodes on the channel. I think you'll find something that pulls you in. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. It means a lot. Until next time, sleep well.